Welcome to the Deeper Awareness Podcast, where we delve into the depths of our inner selves, uncovering authenticity and transformation. Join us for enlightening conversations on breathwork, self-discovery, and the profound journey within. I'm your host, Josh Perry, joined by the delightful Hannah Oxley. Let's begin.
Hi, it's Hannah. On today's episode, Josh and I discuss the importance of embracing both the soaring highs and sacred lows of doing the inner work. Even after doing this work for a couple of years now, both of us are always finding new layers of ourselves along this transformative journey of deeper awareness. Take a listen. So, we are both excited for this episode. It is just Josh and I. And Josh had this idea to talk about going up and going down as you're doing the inner work. And so when I was at work today, one of my coworkers was like, "Oh, what's your podcast going to be about today?" And I was like, going up and going down. And I'm trying to wrap my brain around being able to explain it properly. So if you want to take it away, Josh, and say more in depth of really what we're trying to talk about when we talk about going up and going down.
Yeah, it's when you're on a journey and you don't even know you're on a journey until someone says, "Hey, that sounds like a spiritual journey," or an inward journey. And so I'm like learning as I go. But there's a lot of, whether it's coaches or there's just a lot in the spiritual realm of using gratitude or using affirmations with this desire to go up, to raise your frequency, and those are important because you expand your awareness. You realize we're all one, feeling into that connectedness and that love, and receiving new insights through intuition, all these things. But there's also a down part of it too, and that's where healing trauma and feeling into the grief that just comes from living. It's not necessarily an abuse situation. If you didn't experience that, just by being human, there's a lot. And you and I, as breathwork facilitators, we see it, right? Where people are just releasing emotion that's stored in the body.
Yeah. Like you said, it doesn't have to be abuse. It doesn't have to be big T trauma. It can just be something so little. Like one of my coworkers today was sharing that we're talking about singing in front of people, because I happened to get up at open mic night last night, which is a whole nother story. But she was like, wow, she goes, I wouldn't be able to do that. She said when she was little, she got put into this group of boys in the chorus class that refused to sing, but her teacher put her there because she was just that horrible. So she's like, ever since then, I can't sing at all. And so some of my other coworkers were like, you let something like that from back when you were a kid bother you this long? And so I just was like, of course, of course something that small when you're that little can be so impactful that you're still feeling that today. Absolutely. And so when in her case, if she were to just go up, up, up and not go down into feeling that shame of like, oh man, like somebody actually doesn't think I'm good at singing. As soon as you feel that through, maybe she could get up on karaoke night. Who knows? So yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah. And what kind of brought all of this on was just seeing a few people that have been my mentors, and I just see them going do 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 do, but it's almost like they're floating away,
Mm.
and now they're in the clouds doing all this manifestation stuff, and I'm like, come back, we need you, we're still down here. And so it's the we need to stay grounded, and it's the down. And there's a graph that a lot of the spiritual people will reference that has, you've probably seen it with the frequency, with like shame and fear at the bottom, and then it goes up, 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 and it's like color coded, and at the top is joy. And I think it's David Hawkins, Power versus Force. I'll share it in the show notes.
Yes, please
Okay,
do.
but it's very much laid out to be an upward, because it's like the bottom is fear and shame and guilt, and we're like, oh, those are bad, I don't want those, so I'm going up. And so even this model, this graph, is laid out in a way that it's like, I need to hurry and get up here.
Mm-hmm.
And then but what if my body is holding shame? What if I'm feeling shitty one day? That's the bypass.
Right, because that shame isn't going to go anywhere until you feel it through.
Yeah.
So this graph that you are explaining, this picture that you're sharing has it as an upside down cone
Mm-hmm.
with all the different uh, frequencies.
So yeah.
So what you're trying to explain, like if you were to design this graph yourself, would it just be a cylinder?
So I was talking with my friend about this yesterday, and we were on a Zoom call, and she got out the whiteboard. This is Kirsten, and she said,
Oh yeah, like this one you just sent it.
well, what she drew was a wave. It looked like a sound frequency, a sound wave, that it's a roller coaster. It's a up and down. It's not just the elevator going
Mhm.
up. It's the, oh, I'm falling off a cliff right now.
Mhm.
I'm feeling into all this anger and fear and grief and apathy. And on the, as you feel into those things, the byproduct is peace and joy. On the other side of feeling into the depth of them, you come out the other side feeling love, joy, peace.
Right, like you're riding the wave.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
So part of what I ask AI questions. I don't know if I've shared that on the podcast. So I need a
Josh
good
loves
name.
AI.
Yeah. So I was asking, how is this manifesting in our society at large? And it's the spiritual consumerism, where lots of self help books, workshops, retreats, practices that promise quick enlightenment, success, and happiness. And so you sign up for the 3 day thing, and you do a bunch of whatevers. And then on the other side, you're like, I feel great. I am so full of gratitude. And then, but it's like the foundation's missing.
Mm-hmm. Well, because I think a lot of those people will agree. I know I've been there. When you go to a retreat, whether it be a day long thing, a couple hours, or a whole weekend, you feel good after for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm going to be this new version of myself. But then all of a sudden you go back down into old patterns and stuff. It's because I feel like a lot of them only take you on that upward
Mm.
elevator.
So I asked AI what does the down look like? And integration is part of that.
Mm-hmm.
You,
That makes sense.
yeah, you have to go down, feel into it, and I when you and I were chatting about our intention for having guests on, we wanted to interview and ask questions in a way where they, through our questions, they were able to go into their experience, down into their experience, and find the treasures. And maybe they already knew the treasures, maybe they didn't. But leaving our podcast where they're like, oh my gosh, all these treasures happened in that experience now that we've gone into the story, and
Mm-hmm.
and then we can share those. That part of the integration is now it's in me, and I see that someone else could use that or needs it. It's like, okay, I have wisdom because I felt into it. I because we've all I've shared where someone's going through a hard time that they need to pray or that they need to do affirmations or things like this, which those aren't bad things. They're not bad things. And there's more to it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's where the somatic part of it comes in. You can think and pray and try to solve all of your problems up here.
Okay, so some other ways it's showing up in society. Because a couple years ago, I wanted to be a sports performance coach. And there was some resistance in me where it felt like I was trying to get somebody to achieve, but I understood that it would be a hamster wheel of needing to do it again and again and again. And if they didn't have an understanding of the motivation on why they were doing that, a lot of times it's coming from I'm not enough unless I'm achieving place. And so going down first, uncovering that wound, healing it, and then achieving from a different energy ultimately. Um, but what I found was I was working with a lot of pickleball players, and they were like, no, I don't want to go down. I just want, like, help me in my brain so I can not be nervous on the court. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, well, yeah, it's in your body. It's the nerves are down here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I kept going on my journey because the people that I could feel that it wasn't authentically who I wanted to help. I wanted to help people go deep, but I don't know if there's that many people out there that want that.
Well, they rather just take the bridge across instead of going down to the ditch where they learn all of their lessons that they need for the next time that they need to do that. People much rather take the easy way out.
Yeah. The
They think it's the
pill,
easy way out. Yeah, the solve everything pill.
huh? Okay. So yeah, it talks about avoiding pain. As
Mm-hmm.
a society, we're very good at avoiding pain. We're positive thinking culture, which helps, right? It's shifted generation to from like my parents to us. They didn't know positive thinking was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's helped. It's shifted our culture. It's helped, it's benefited our culture.
Mm-hmm.
But it's once again, it's up here.
Mm-hmm. Well, even just your example of wanting to be after, the sports coach, you wanted to be a mindset coach, and now we're into more somatics.
Mhm.
it's just your evolution is hopefully the same evolution that our countries, our world is going to make.
Yeah. Um, okay. And the other thing is self care versus self discovery. I really like this one.
Mm, I like that one a lot
Yeah.
because it's
So,
like, oh, I can just go take a bubble bath and everything will be fine. Or why am I feeling this way?
so I would, this was happening for me this morning. I was feeling this deep hopelessness, like not want to live feeling.
Mm,
And I was very aware that it was a part of me, that it wasn't all of me. And I was like, I have like 50 tools. I can go for a walk, I can get some sunshine, I can exercise, I can binge watch Netflix, there's a million ways, or I can breathe.
mm-hmm,
And those are all good. And I
mm-hmm,
was like, nope, I'm going in. And I sat down and I went into my body and I sat with this hopeless feeling.
mm,
And I was thinking, I've been avoiding this that has been in me. And that's the bypass. And sitting with it, I started crying and I was thinking about this society. And we pass like this homeless person on the way to work every day. Sometimes it's a different person, but there's a particular spot where homeless people will stand with their signs. And I don't want a tangent, but it's too good.
oh,
Um,
please.
I Googled, if I was homeless, what's the best sign? What's the best thing to put on my sign? Because Google will tell you everything. I can't remember what it
You
was.
Google it or did you AI
No, I Googled it.
it?
Okay, sorry to tangent there, but
No.
because yeah, I was wondering like what one's the most beneficial.
Yeah, I don't know. Something about children. You gotta put your kids on
Yeah,
it.
if you bring your kids. Anyway, so I was like feeling there was grief inside me, and I was thinking about just my experience growing up, and I read something about how so many foster care kids once they hit 18, there's a certain percentage that become homeless. And there was this deep sadness in me. And I
Mm,
was just feeling, I was like, this is so fucked up. Like, why don't we have like it's not about positive thinking to those kids. They don't need affirmations. And I feel like that's what our society, as we're trying to come up here, we're leaving these people behind. And in certain ways, I feel like I've been left behind, at least parts of me, in an effort to present as all put together. Meanwhile, there's grief and hopelessness inside me.
so you sat there and felt it all through.
I don't know about all, but it was probably 30 minutes and I was crying and just feeling into it, and it it was different than me breathing it away.
Mm-hmm. Because there's that connection of oneness that we are all connected, and you just felt their pain, which some of it is some of your parts could be there too. Yeah, you have to, because I love that. I honor you for doing that because I feel sure so many people, especially people that maybe are in our sort of world of holding space for other people, we forget to do that for ourselves.
Well, and I think the going in, there's like, because I've met myself there, I can meet somebody else there too.
Mm-hmm.
If I've never gone there, it's really uncomfortable to see someone grieving unless I've grieved myself. And they can feel that too. There's like an energetic understanding that it's like, oh, okay, you've been there. You get me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we all have enough experiences that we've all gone through that if we went this way and met those parts of us and felt into those, that's where we would that's the empathy, the authentic empathy that creates so much safety, emotional safety for us to just be. Like the masks are no longer needed. And that's the work. It's this way. We got to go down.
Mm-hmm. Imagine a world if everybody did that. I can't.
I had this thought, I think it was yesterday or this morning, that the like our parents' generation didn't really have an understanding of the depth inside them because their parents, grandma and grandpa, didn't know how to ask them like questions that would allow them as children to get to know themselves. And then because they didn't know there was depth as children, when they grew up and then had us, they didn't know to ask us good questions, curious questions to help us discover the gifts and the treasures inside of us. And so I think about, so when my kids come to visit for the past, well, up until recently, it's been very much keeping them occupied, like a very external doing thing, instead of having them go inward, this self discovery. And when you feel comfortable inside, you can hang out in the sunshine. You don't need the video games. You don't need the constant doingness. It's the contentness. That's not a word. Contentedness. My friend sent me a video that there was a study done. I can't remember where it was a dark room. I don't know if it was pitch black, but they would have people go into the room, sit down for 15 minutes, and they had access to a mild shock. And they said 23% of the women would prefer to shock themselves instead of being with themselves. But 67% of men were shocking themselves. And I think that's to my point, is this discomfort of what is inside. And it's because there's, so much repressed, all the things, anger and shame and fear and guilt, and in women too. But that study is crazy.
Mm-hmm. That was shocking. I saw that recently too. Yeah, like scary. But it's so true. Like I was so frustrated the other day, or this happens all the time. My partner and I'll be like on my phone, scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. I look up and I'm like, he's just scrolling on his phone. What have we been doing for the last 20 minutes? Just sitting together, like not together. We're together, but completely not.
Mm-hmm.
That scares me. And like I can be aware of it. I notice when I'm doing it after 15 minutes or so. But I think of people that don't have that awareness and how long do they sit there on their phones for? Not wanting to that's the shock that they're, you know, portraying in that study. It's like, oh, I instead of sitting here with my thoughts, I'm just gonna scroll and scroll and scroll. What this one memory I have, like during the pandemic, I went to Chipotle just to get a burrito, and I left my phone in the car and it ended up being a much longer wait than I anticipated. So I was just standing there without my phone. And that was a point too where I was like, I'm not, it was like post wearing masks, but everyone still was. And I was like, I'm not wearing my mask. I don't have to. And so I was the only one with no phone and no mask. And everybody in the entire store, it was dinner time. So like everybody was busy. It was a long line. Everyone's heads just down, like not, no one's looking up. And everyone's face is covered. Like, what world is this?
Mm-hmm.
What world is this? That was such a scary thought. And obviously people have experienced that before, I'm sure, because it happens whenever you lift your head up. You look around, if you're at the bank, the grocery store, like it's just so normal. And I don't like that that's normal.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to feel. And that's why I love we're constantly thinking of different titles for ourselves as we go forward in our businesses. But Josh is my favorite with the aliveness coach. I think that is just so needed. That's what I did my breathwork workshop yesterday for. It's feeling alive.
Mm.
That's the only, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
We're here to be alive. We're here to live. And yeah, I hope I'd be able to sit in a dark room and not shock myself.
Yeah, I maybe the Josh 7 years ago, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah. I consider myself lucky growing up. I didn't have a cell phone until I was like in high school. Like my first friend had a cell phone, like maybe in middle school, but we still had to entertain ourselves with nature.
Mm.
We were the last generation to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to think somebody like you and I would be able to stay in a different room and be okay.
I don't know.
I had to, take twigs and make little houses out in my backyard when I was little. So I'd like to think I have the stamina for that.
So with all of this, we've talked about it a little bit on other podcasts, but this it's so common for us to only go inward when life is like forcing us, whether it's health challenges, divorce, bankruptcy, something, some problem.
Mm-hmm. Something that forces us into that ditch.
Yeah, that we're
And
so good at suffering,
mm-hmm.
so good at suffering. So how can we create a world where self-discovery is honored and and cherished?
Safety.
Tell me about that if you would.
I think the only thing that's keeping people back from going deeper into more self-discovery is they just don't feel safe. They're afraid of what they're going to find. They're afraid of feeling emotions because at some point of our lives we felt unsafe to feel. We rather choose numbness than feeling.
Mm.
If it's you have to be sad or numb, it's going to be numb. You agree?
Yeah. Yeah, it was that for 4 decades. Very numb. Not really even knowing I was numb.
Yeah. I think a lot of
So,
people.
yeah. So, with aliveness, and let's say you're an aliveness saleswoman where you have the opportunity to sell this idea of sadness over numbness. What are the benefits? Why would I do that?
You would do that because, may I remind you, we came here to this planet. We chose to come here to feel, to experience everything. Maybe we have to at one point experience numbness, but that is not the main mission here. It's to feel everything, because when you feel into the darkest, deepest place inside of you that you're completely terrified of, when you feel that through, when there is a bright, beautiful, sunny day and everything is wonderful and the air smells nice and temperature's perfect, you enjoy that so much more than if you never knew what that darkness felt like. Did I sell
That's good.
it?
Yeah, I was thinking about like sensations or our five senses as we're experiencing something, any, whatever it can be, whatever it is, and the richness that takes place when we're really present in that moment. We're really, soaking it in with sight and nose, ears, taste, touch,
Mm-hmm.
and that going inward into grief and sadness. It feels like it, I picture it like a cavern, and that if you go into the cavern and it's full of sadness, there's nothing to, you can't fill it with anything else. So you actually need to go into it and feel it into the edges of it, feel
Mm-hmm.
it all the way. That's kind of what I was doing this morning, was feeling into the grief and letting that move out of my body. And then when I experience something else, whether it's a quote unquote good emotion or not, there's more space in my body for me to experience the sunshine or the rain or the frustration of whatever.
Mm-hmm. I have a pretty good metaphor, I think.
Yes.
You ready?
Uh huh.
Did I tell you about my harvesting potato story?
Nope.
So potatoes, if I were to pick my favorite food, it'd be potatoes. Like in any form. I love mashed
Hmm.
potatoes. I love French fries. I love baked potatoes, roasted potatoes. I love potatoes. And so when we're harvesting potatoes, I couldn't wait because I'm like, I love everything about potatoes. Gotta love harvesting them too. So I don't know if you know how potatoes grow, but there's a potato plant, and the potatoes just come off of the roots underneath. So you have to dig for the potatoes. And so you pull out the plant and then you dig for until you find all the potatoes. And so I was like, oh, like, wow, like, we're finding like these purpley red ones. Like, can you imagine back, when people were discovering potatoes, like, look, it's like gold in here and this ground. It's like delicious thing that's going to turn into French fries eventually. And so I'm digging, digging, digging. And then I find a rotten potato.
Mm.
My finger goes right through it, and talk about all of the sensations. Like, it smells like the worst smell I've ever smelled. I feel my finger go right through it, the squish, the noise of the squishiness that it made, like everything was like, this is the grossest thing ever. Like, I hate potatoes. So if you don't feel like, and there's no guessing, I mean, it's all a guessing game. You can't just go around the rotten potatoes. You have to keep digging. You have to go through them, or you're going to miss the good potatoes, because you need to get all of them. You're not going to waste them just because you found one rotten tomato. There's still good ones underneath it. So keep digging. You kind of like get the squishy, gross one away, and then you keep going. You find all the good ones underneath it. So you have to feel through the gross, rotten potato in order to get the good ones so that you can have French fries.
Mm.
My metaphor.
French fries. That's the goal. That was good.
Mm-hmm. And you have to feel it all. Like when I eat French fries, I'm like, oh my God, this tastes good. It smells good.
Mm.
Think about it. And when I feel a rotten potato, everything knows that it's rotten. Grossest thing thus far on the farm.
I love that the farm has all the metaphors too.
Oh my God. That's the way I love it so much. I learned so much on the farm, whether I realize it or not. Did not think of that metaphor until just now.
Mm. Well, and I think authenticity, in order to have that, we need access to whatever is present inside of our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just ignored the rotten potato and was like, I'm just going to look on the bright side, it's a sunny day. And I mean, when you shared that, that was like rich with details and sensations. And it was like I was right there with you. But if you didn't share any of that and just said, yeah, I picked a bunch of potatoes today, it's a different experience. It's a different story.
Mm-hmm. You got to give all of it to be authentic. I love that. The full rottenness to its full potential as being a crispy French fry.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Oh my God, wow, it's 4 o'clock. I shouldn't have said that. Sorry.
I
Thank
shouldn't have
you.
said that.
Thank you for joining us today in this episode.
Thank you for listening to the Deeper Awareness podcast, where the journey of self-discovery and inner growth continues to unfold. We hope this episode has ignited a spark within you and inspired you to embrace a more conscious and authentic existence by looking within. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for upcoming episodes, where we'll continue to explore the transformative power of breathwork and emotional healing. Continue the conversation and stay connected with us on Instagram. Follow at Deeper Awareness Podcast to receive daily inspiration, valuable tips, and updates on our latest episodes and offerings. We'd love to hear your thoughts and insights from today's show, so feel free to share them in the comments below or tag us in your posts. Your engagement and feedback mean the world to us as we strive to continue to create content that resonates and empowers our incredible community. Together, we can continue exploring the depths of consciousness, fostering genuine connections, and supporting each other on our transformative journeys. This episode is brought to you by You Belong Breathwork, your destination for transformative healing and self-discovery. At You Belong Breathwork, we believe in the power of breath to unlock the deepest parts of ourselves, leading to profound insights and a greater sense of connection and belonging. Whether you're seeking emotional healing, a deeper connection with yourself, or a path to authenticity, our breathwork sessions, retreats, and coaching programs are designed to guide you on this transformative journey. Our experienced facilitators are here to hold space for you as you explore the depths of your consciousness and discover the infinite potential within. Visit youbelongbreathwork.com to explore our offerings and download a free guided breathwork session. Thank you for being a part of our deeper awareness community. Stay connected, stay curious, and may you embrace your true essence with love and compassion. Goodbye for now, and see you in the next episode.